Hi, my name is Kim Adamski, HIV prevention specialist at the Hartford Gay and Lesbian Health Collective. We're located at 1841 Broad Street. That's in the south end of Hartford. We offer services like sexual health exams, STD testing, education, dental services, and also fun programming like what we have tonight. Tonight we have Allison and Valjean here to talk about their IVF experiences as part of our LGBTQ Family Building series. If you missed any of the previous ones, I have posted the recorded versions to our Facebook and our YouTube channel, so be sure to check those out. And Valjean and Allison, whoever wants to go first, please introduce.
I'm Allison. I had a child through IVF. I don't know what to say. Yeah, we're currently living in Long Island, New York. And I'm currently staying home with our kiddo.
Yeah, and I'm Valjean, and my pronouns are he, him, his, preferring pronouns. And I'm a trans man, so we both had to have some help with getting conceiving, I guess. And we're here to talk about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you being willing to share this, personal topic. So of course, as we learned in previous sessions, there's a lot of ways for LGBTQ couples to have a child. We covered some of them last week and the week before, and I think like 2 weeks ago, something like that, including IVF, which we'll be talking about again today, and surrogacy / third-party reproduction, as they call it, and also adoption. So Allison and Valjean, did you consider any other options for having a child, and what made you end up with IVF as your choice?
We considered our two main options that we considered, because we did want to go through pregnancy and going through having a child that way. We considered IUI, which is most people know it as artificial insemination, where we would use a sperm donor and just use it that way with my own eggs. And then we considered reciprocal IVF is what we ended up doing, where we used Valjean's eggs and then a sperm donor sperm. And then an embryologist in a lab mixed all that goodness together and then transferred it for me. I guess another consideration was a known sperm donor versus a sperm donor that we accessed through a cryobank.
I guess it all kind of started because we weren't sure about my fertility, I guess, being on testosterone. I've been on testosterone for like 5 years. And then I guess it was your old OBGYN was like, oh, I don't even know if that's going to work. We better figure it out. So we all started getting a consultation because I had really good insurance. I was working for New York State at the time. So we figured we'd try, and that started us on our IVF journey.
Yeah, it's there's no good longitudinal studies about fertility after being on testosterone for so long, or for I guess any length of time. So my OBGYN was going off of maybe 2 people that she heard of through another doctor, saying like, oh, I don't know if Valjean's egg quality would be good anymore, or it wasn't helpful, but it definitely made us kind of panic. Like we don't know. Like Valjean's like, I feel fertile, but I don't know. Because it's still, there's not like a generation above us that we can really look to for these answers right now. Like we're a lot of trans folks are still like creating their own paths and like figuring this out. So
yeah, because a lot of my trans male friends had just gone ahead and gotten their ovaries removed or their uterus removed. Either it was their own idea or like Dr. Strong suggested it to them. So yeah, it's not a lot of, like Allison said, I found like 1 or 2 papers, and then I went on some Reddit boards, and I found some other trans men who had been on testosterone for like 5 years, and I only found one other person who it worked out. He said he stopped taking testosterone for a year. And then I think gotten his eggs. basically collected. And a lot of other people preemptively, if they have really good insurance, will freeze some eggs before they testosterone, but that can be expensive.
Yeah, I know somebody who is currently transitioning, and they looked into getting their eggs frozen and were like, this is just not financially possible, which is really a bummer.
Yeah, unless you work for Google or something.
Well, I'll tell them to work for Google then.
Yeah. It's like, it's not an option. I mean, Valjean, I'm sure he'll mention later, we have an Excel sheet about what this cost us, and ours wasn't an expensive journey. And, this could cost us a lot. So, yeah, I guess we did have a couple choices to make. And even in terms of selecting a sperm donor, there's a lot of different things we had to decide what to prioritize. And also, did we want an anonymous sperm donor or somebody that our kiddo can contact when they turn 18 years old? So that's a big decision in itself. So yeah, I guess we had a lot of things to talk about, but thankfully we were on the same page with a lot of it.
Man, what kinds of things go into picking a sperm donor?
It's so bizarre. It's like a mixture between online dating and just like literally just purchasing sperm off of the internet. It is still Wild Westish in terms of like each states have their own laws, and it's a little bizarre.
Yeah, like basically New York State makes you have a fertility clinic sign off, even if you like do purchase sperm from like another state.
Yeah.
Just to like, if you want it to your house, then you still need to have like a fertility center sign off that it's okay to then send it like to your house.
You just get a package of sperm to your house?
Yeah, in some states you can, which is honestly like that makes more sense.
No, it totally does. I just never even thought about
yeah. People can buy in-home insemination kits for cheap, and like that makes sense if like you know what you're doing, which I guess it's not that hard. But
yeah,
then
I can imagine.
I don't know what it's like in Connecticut, but I can't imagine it's as regulated as New York State.
Yeah, and then me being African American, we were talking about like the reciprocal process. I can find a lot of good African American donors. Like number one, there aren't a lot, and then like the really good ones, I think like just one person's out there on the internet buying all their sperm because then like the next day it'll be like, oh, there's nothing left.
It's really hard to find folks of color, and it's mostly white guys in California who are musicians or actors, like, to be honest.
I can't imagine why. No, I've heard that they mostly want like hot white Adonises in like perfect health or something. I don't know if that's true, but
it's strange sitting through it. But like there's a lot to choose from, and there's a lot of different cryobanks to choose from, and it's we bought subscriptions. It's like $25 or something to let you access people's profiles, and then you get to see their childhood photos, some like health history for their family, a bio,
a voice recording of them like in an interview,
which meant a lot to me because I felt like that's the closest I could get to know them. They all had like personality tests, so for Valjean, blood type and health history is important, and for me it's like personality and feeling like this person's standing in for my eggs essentially, right? So I wanted to be a person that felt like me or somebody that I would get along with. So we found our guy, and they all have fake names. Ours is Kinsey.
That's very funny that it would be Kinsey.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. It just seemed like a chill person that had similar values to mine, had my blood type. So yeah, we bought hundreds of dollars in files of his sperm. It was it's expensive, and you want to get more than you need, so that adds up.
So after you picked that you were going to do IVF, reciprocal IVF, how you were going to do that, your sperm donor, how did you mentally and physically prepare for the process?
You definitely had to do some like physical and mental preparation.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, as far as thinking about like them checking my ovaries for the whole process, I had to mentally prepare myself for it because I'm not comfortable. Like honestly, I hate going to the OBGYN. I hadn't gone to an OB for like 5 years. It's how much I hate it. It's like the whole process of being in the waiting room and then calling you back. So I was really nervous. So I had to just prepare myself that this is like a short period of time, a limited period of time for me to do this process.
Right.
You went off testosterone for only a month, right?
Oh, yeah, I had gone off of it for a month, and they did blood work, they checked my levels of estrogen and testosterone, and like, oh, everything looks good. So
Oh
it
wow,
was
that's
nice
not
that
even that long.
yeah, I didn't have to go off of it for longer, so I was happy about
Which
that.
felt long for you.
Yeah.
It definitely, I don't want to diminish it. Like it felt like a long month for you. It's pretty invasive. Like you have to do a ton of checkup appointments on both sides of reciprocal IVF. Both folks do to just make sure the follicles are looking good, and eventually the uterine lining's looking good. And they don't tell you how much. Like I feel like they take gallons of blood by the time you're done. It's constant blood work because they're injecting you with a bunch of hormones throughout this process, so they want to make sure levels are good. But they also do like intravaginal ultrasounds like really, really frequently, and they didn't tell us that. They said ultrasounds, but they didn't tell either of us that.
I think they leave that on purpose because there's a trans-abdominal, which most people see on TV. And no one ever thinks about the other one.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
I would have hoped, like, knowing that like a trans man was coming in, they would have like prepared a little bit and like given us a heads up. Neither of us enjoyed it, but like, that wasn't good to be blindsided.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the funnest thing. Like if I had to pick between that and like watching TV or something, probably the TV.
Yeah, definitely would have chosen TV. Yeah, it's a big time commitment to like go to all these. You're going in multiple times a week, like for a lot of it, like for all these little appointments. And each of them are stressful because you're like, oh, I hope my uterine lining is like growing like at the levels they need, and I hope my blood work is looking good, and it's constant keeping up on that stuff. So
so a lot of people worry about financing their IVF, and if you're comfortable talking about this, can you talk a little bit about your experience with that?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I was employed for New York State at the time. I was doing research at like one of the SUNY schools, and the whole SUNY system is considered under the state. So in the state, it was really good insurance as employees, luckily enough. So they covered 3 attempts at IVF. Wow. The only thing that
is regular,
the only thing that we had to pay for out of pocket were the visits, and it was only like $20 a visit. And I actually think that was more on your side. I think the state covered all of my visits. And then you have to pay for the medications for the cycles. And I looked it up, and it was like about $1,000 in medications.
Okay.
And then after that, we had to pay for genetic testing. I mean, it's optional to get the genetic testing, but that was fairly expensive. It was $3,000 for just to test all the embryos. So yeah, it really adds up.
Yeah. It does add up, and you have to get a lot of medication through like specialty pharmacies that ship to you, and you get them at like the exact date to start the exact cycle. So a lot of people, when they talk about doing IVF or any fertility treatment, talk about how it can become life consuming, and it really does. It sure feels that way. And I know some people try to like work against that, but I didn't find a way to. It consumes your life, and it is tough financially. I know some people who get like part-time jobs at like Starbucks and places that have good fertility coverage just to do IVF, and then they leave.
I knew people did that for top surgery too, so I'm not surprised.
Okay. Yeah, I imagine it's like regular conception but on hard mode.
It's like, for example, I was working as a social worker for a Catholic healthcare system at the time. They didn't cover a cent of it. So the fertility clinics know how to finagle to get his insurance to cover more, but they wouldn't. We didn't get any help from my insurance, and if he didn't have his insurance, it would have been all out of pocket, which I can't even imagine what that would have cost.
The woman at the IVF clinic that we talked to that does the cost stuff there, she said that she spends so much time reaming insurance companies until she finds a loophole, which is good on her. Like I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, and they let us know in the beginning too, like somebody from the office sat down and said, listen, like you're going to see on the paperwork that they're going to have you down as female, but we have to justify that to the health insurance because they won't pay for like egg retrieval from a male. Like, you know, so everything's still really in the binary, and it's not trans friendly when it comes to paperwork. But thankfully, we were at a clinic where I think we both felt respected.
Yeah, I even think some of the nurses there were queer. So
yeah, they were cute. Yeah, a lot of rainbow gear. Yeah, they were. Yeah, but the paperwork I think could potentially be triggering and hard for some people because that's how the insurance is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think in terms of finances too, a big thing that we noticed right away is we don't have fertility issues. It's just we have a lot of eggs and no sperm. You know? So,
too many eggs. What do we do?
And we just had we had a lot of eggs. Yeah, no sperm. So we most people who are going to fertility clinics are cishet couples who have fertility concerns, you know. So and the whole system's designed to tend to that. So we're coming in not having any of that, and the system's designed to like kind of go heavy on procedures and heavy on medication. They put me on some really bizarre anti-inflammatory medication just because that was their standard. They had
one included hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah,
whatever Trump was.
Yeah, I know. Like that was like anti-malarial medication.
Yeah.
It's also a treatment for certain autoimmune stuff, incidentally.
Right. Yeah. Which was what they put me on, which I didn't need. But and then they had me go through procedures to like check out the health of my uterus, which I didn't need. But they sell everything like this is what we know works. You don't want to go through all this expense and all this trouble and find out later on that there was something, you know, that you needed the anti-inflammatory or you needed to check out your uterus or what have you. So they push you towards over medicalizing the process, which to me felt really difficult, it being my body, that they were like being really invasive towards and putting a lot of medication in.
And a lot of genetic testing, which also my insurance covered. I guess not all insurances will cover that genetic testing too.
They do push that, being like, okay, say you go through all this and then you implant an embryo that's not viable, which it's hard to argue against them because we didn't know what we were doing. Like, they're the fertility doctors. So it ends up being, I think, more expensive because you're just, you know, I push back against some things, but as soon as they push back, I'm like, well, you know what works. So, you know.
So with all the genetic testing, do they tell you that you're like, I mean, are you more likely to have a healthy baby should it implant?
Most of the studies are done with genetically tested embryos. So I think like for people less like their age less than 35 with genetically like healthy embryo, like it's a 50-50 chance. And then I think if you like throw in the mosaics or like ones that are missing chromosomes, they just don't really know the numbers, so they can't really guide you as to what to expect going forward.
They grade each embryo. They're like, this is an AA embryo. And like they grade that, which feels super bizarre. And I have an acquaintance who their kid was the lowest grade embryo could have, and they're just as healthy and happy as our kid.
I don't think our clinic did that because newer studies show that the like grading doesn't matter. It's really just the genetics. Like it can be like a CC, which isn't good. And if it's like genetically as far as like chromosomally normal, then it should implant with the 50-50 chance in that, you know, less than 35 age group. That
being said, we only did the top graded embryos because like we don't know, you know, and they're telling us it's better. Yeah,
exactly. Why not?
But I'm sure the other ones are fine too. So yeah, it's there's just so much unknown going into it, and it feels really overwhelming. And you kind of just have to trust these fertility doctors that really aren't made to like serve your particular population if you're doing reciprocal IVF as a queer family. Now, of course, there's like queer families doing reciprocal IVF that do have fertility concerns, and like they definitely benefit from us. But for us, it's hard to tell. Even during pregnancy, it's hard to tell like what to take seriously from what people are telling us.
Right. All right. What kinds of reactions did you get from family and friends? Did you have any like negative ones? Was everybody supportive? How did that go for you?
I mean, I think we're in our 30s. We've done a lot of calling in our life.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't surround ourselves with people who would bat an eye at.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
like
really
basically,
good.
yeah, my mom's side of the family isn't accepting of me being trans. So yeah, she's not. I've distanced her from my life. But everyone
Okay.
who knows I'm trans wasn't very surprised. that-
Yeah.
that-
I mean, I wasn't that surprised when I heard.
Yeah, I think people were curious and people asked a lot of questions, but we're also really open about it, like
Yeah.
obviously. So like,
I mean, it is really interesting because it's not, I mean, you don't see it all the time.
yeah. I mean, I know when I honestly, most people I know that are pregnant or trying right now are doing IVF and they're cis het couples. So I don't know what's going on, but like a lot of people are doing IVF these days. And I know I've asked a lot of questions too, like, you know, hopefully not uncomfortably, but yeah, it's interesting.
Mhm.
Now, did you like connect with any other couples or families who were doing IVF during this, like for support or anything, or was it mostly your existing network?
I feel like you definitely found some good Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Was it like Doree and Matt?
Yeah, there's like, yeah, I gave the list in it. I think you're going to include it, Kim, in the recording.
Yes, I will.
There are a lot of Facebook groups, and there are a lot that are supportive, and it's helpful because you're diving into this world that you have, you know, like even graded embryos. When you hear of that, you're like, what does this mean to me? It's nice to go on there and just see other people who understand it and have been through it. It's reassuring.
Yeah, like as far as the harvesting of the eggs, I guess, like whenever I got the call, oh, we harvested 20 eggs. And it's like, is this a good thing?
Yeah.
And go on the board and you're seeing other people with similar experiences.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was pretty nice.
Which 20 eggs is awesome. So, yeah, there was no need for us to be worried about Val having been on testosterone. Like he got a ridiculous amount of eggs. So yeah.
Wonderful eggs. Good job.
It was great for us.
Yeah.
But we both knew people who did IVF, but nobody, I think, who did reciprocal IVF, right? I only knew cis het couples who did IVF. So it was helpful knowing their journey, but it didn't like exactly apply.
Right.
There's good queer parent groups online too for people who've done it. We mostly found lesbian couples who did.
Yeah, most of them did it though, like 8 years ago, where they used to implant more embryos. So a lot of them have like twins, triplets, and seeing that's kind of scary too.
Yeah.
So things have changed in the last about 5.
Yeah, I was surprised to learn that actually when I learned that they no longer give you like 8 embryos, they just give you 1.
Oh my god, yeah, a little litter. They told us that they wouldn't transfer more than 1 for us because like I think it was under 35, right? And we didn't have fertility concerns. Yeah, because I was like, to do more, right? We should like make this work, and they're like, why would you do that?
Now I imagine once the whole process of getting pregnant was finished, it was more or less like a pretty standard pregnancy situation. I mean, depending on health stuff, but
After the first trimester for you?
Yeah, because throughout something they didn't tell me until the first trimester is you don't stop all of these really heavy duty IVF medications until the end of the first trimester.
Really?
You're still doing progesterone shots daily, which you have to do the same time every day. I was still doing multiple forms of progesterone and estrogen. It was like a high level of hormones, which wasn't great for my mental health. It was not good.
Basically, whenever you ovulate, an egg, the like body that's left over produces those 2 hormones, estrogen and progesterone. So because Allison didn't ovulate, and she had to do it for the whole first trimester before the placenta takes over. That was a lot. And those multiple shots, they like twice. You had to do the progesterone shot.
That was once a day, but I had to take multiple meds throughout the day. I had to literally make a chart for so they didn't tell me that, and I've never been pregnant not doing it this way, but I felt super hormonal like being pregnant, and there's the stress of like I still had to get blood work done and them check up on me to make sure the levels are right. So it's stressful. And I think it was different too in that they treated our pregnancy a little bit different because as IVF, like there's a very, very small chance that there might be heart defects maybe for kids born to IVF. So they pushed us to do an echocardiogram for our kiddo when I was pregnant.
And like the second or third. But I had an issue with that. It's like a brand new paper that came out a year or two ago. So this is a new thing. And then I think the study had a lot of couples facing infertility. So I don't know, my scientist brain kind of kicked in and I kind of thought it was BS, but Allison was a bit nervous, so definitely wanted to do it.
Yeah, it's hard. I feel like so much of it is fear-based. Like, what if this doesn't work? Or, you know, we put in this much work and what if something goes wrong? So yeah, I was definitely driven by fear to do that.
I'm pretty prone to taking the better safe than sorry approach too.
Yeah, but then it's another expense. So yeah, I say that's different. And honestly, the stress, like I found the IVF process to be really stressful. And then I was pregnant. And then I was pregnant during a pandemic. So it was just like layers of stress. I'm sure a lot of people face stress before getting pregnant, but yeah, it felt like kind of no break with the stress.
Now, at what point in your pregnancy did the pandemic kind of take hold?
7 months pregnant.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
it was not what I would have wanted, but
I don't think any of us did.
Yeah, it wasn't good timing. We lost our housing because we were student housing, so we had to move, and we didn't get help because there's a pandemic.
You had to cancel your baby shower.
Yeah, I had to cancel the baby shower. I had a lot of fear going into labor and delivery, being separated from my kid if I came up positive, Valjean coming up positive, and then me going through labor alone. So yeah, it's a lot. I guess that's more of our pandemic story than the IVF.
I mean, yeah, but it's still part of having a baby. Either way.
We were lucky that we did the fertility stuff when we did because they stopped. Most fertility clinics temporarily shut down when the pandemic started because it was a optional medical procedure, which stopped people mid IVF cycle, which was awful.
Yeah. Man, I imagine that you'll be telling the kiddo in like 5 years, oh, you were born in the middle of a pandemic. And they'll just be like, okay, what's that even mean?
I don't understand any of that.
So speaking of them, how are you going to talk about IVF with them? Or are you already talking about it with them, like since they can understand?
That is more you.
We're planning on being really open about it. We chose a sperm donor that they can contact when they're 18 years old. We have books that speak to having like a helper, like an egg or sperm donor. We plan on being really open about it. We also had so many leftover embryos that we donated some to an awesome family out in Washington State. So and we're in contact with them. So August is going to know they have a little donor sibling, a dibling.
Oh,
like
a dibling?
Yeah, I know, cute, right? Yeah, it's out in Washington State. So we're planning just being open, like, yeah, we have a helper with that. So I'm sure our language will evolve and they'll have questions that we don't expect. But no, I feel honored that we're a queer family that's able to have a child that's biologically related to their trans father. Like, what a fucking awesome thing that, sorry, I didn't know if we can swear, but like, what an awesome thing that in a day and age like where we can do that.
It's amazing.
It feels like politically necessary that families are doing this. It feels like an honor that we can do that. And I want August to know that like we're proud that we even had this option available to us because it hasn't been on the table that long.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, it hasn't been on the table that long that trans dads could be dads. So yeah, I want them to know that.
Yeah, or rather, a lot of trans guys felt like they had to deliver, I guess, before they transitioned. So knowing that afterwards is also, I guess, pretty new and nice as well.
Yeah, do the classic dad way. But also we love like seahorse dads, like trans dads. So yeah, it's cool that all options are available on the table. And yeah, we want to know why, we want our kiddo to know like why we chose this option and how they were made.
So if you choose to have another kid, are you going to go this way again or not?
That's the
not
question.
That I'm
it's such a, I mean, like even like having kid during pandemic now, I can't even imagine this.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
It's just that the IUI is way easier.
So much easier.
And cheaper. But Allison likes the idea of IVF for like August to have a sibling.
Yeah, full bio
A full,
sibling.
yeah.
Because if we did
Right.
IUI, siblings wouldn't be related at all, which is okay. But like, I think there's benefits to them being related. Also, we
Yeah.
still have, even after donating a bunch of embryos, we still have more embryos frozen, right? And also, our kid is awesome. So like, I don't know, like.
Hey, I was an only child. I came out fine, I guess.
Yeah, I'm fine with only child. I think we're kind of seeing how COVID and stress levels play out.
Absolutely.
Valjean's in medical school right now. Like
I'm finishing up in May.
Oh yes, that's so soon.
But I think originally we had thought to do one IVF kid and one IUI, but after knowing our kid, I'm like, another of you would be awesome. I know it wouldn't be the same kid, but yeah.
Of course.
I don't want to go through IVF again, but I am tempted by the idea of another, bio sibling.
Right. All right. So what would you suggest that prospective parents keep in mind if they're looking into doing IVF?
I would definitely say like do the basic legwork of finding out what your insurance will and won't cover. Have a conversation beforehand about whether or not you want to do genetic testing, because some people are like, they really want to, and other people are like, I don't want to know, just implant whatever embryo. What's it called? Like whenever you balance the assigned like sex at birth.
Oh yeah, a lot of people want to know if it's an XX or XY chromosome, which like feels uncomfortable to us from where we're coming up. Like we're using they them pronouns for our kid. Like we're
so have that conversation beforehand. What would you recommend?
I think choosing the right fertility clinic's a big deal. I don't know if we can say the name of it. Like I don't want to be like an app.
That's fine.
But yeah, we went through CNY Fertility, and it's right outside of Albany, New York. And we were lucky because that just happened to be what we were near. But people go through like from all over the world to go there because it's affordable, and they take on a high number of clients. And they do have on their page like we saw like a lot of rainbows and like a cute lesbian couple saying like we serve like queer families. So we felt good going to them. They are really good. You hear horror stories of other fertility clinics who like charge more or aren't queer friendly or are more tedious about how they do things. So I think researching like joining IVF related Facebook groups and just seeing who people recommend.
I even think they give away a free cycle, like
they do,
like once a month or once a year. And they chose your couple for June for the Pride month too. So
so there's a whole lot of fertility clinics out there, and just kind of picking the right one. And you can always jump ship. Like I think I know a lot of people who changed fertility clinics when it wasn't going well the first time. So it's a possibility. It's just kind of a pain.
Yeah. Man, I imagine it would be, even just from a business standpoint, a bad idea not to be queer friendly, because that's like eliminating a sizable portion of people.
I mean, I thought with my last employer, it'd be a bad decision to not cover fertility treatments, and yet
here we are.
I know. So yeah, it's funny how some people are, or maybe just so certain doctors not comfortable with it, or
just doctors don't have to take any patient. You can just say, I don't feel familiar with this, so I can do it. And then
like to be honest, our fertility doctor was a little uncomfortable, but not for that. He was just an uncomfortable person. We also have big kids.
I mean, it is a very unusual circumstance for a family setup. Just a random question. Do they require you to put the assigned sex at birth on the birth certificate? Like, can you be like, no, I don't want to, or?
Yeah, there's a non-binary, like what is it? Yeah, there's like just an X option as well as male, female. But I was thinking, what are the chances that our kid's going to like be non-binary or trans? I looked at the percentage and I said, I'll pay for them to change their birth certificate if they want to later. I've had to go through that myself. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a birth certificate.
But it's good to have the other options,
Yeah, that's actually really cool to know. I did not know that. All right. So is there any other advice that you want that you wish people would have told you before doing IVF?
I think something we didn't consider, even past our minds in the beginning, was like that you would have extra embryos, because you hear about mostly people going through this because they're struggling with fertility, and then most people are like fighting for even one embryo to transfer, and that was the opposite of our experience. So there's a lot of options. Most people donate to science, so they donate it back to their fertility clinic so that embryologists can practice their skills and hone their skills, which is really cool. Other people have them destroyed, where I think they just thaw them out and throw them out, which I think is hard because people really fight to make those embryos,
Yeah.
You can do what we did, where you donate them to a family, which can be an open or closed adoption. The language around that's a little interesting too. There's also a compassionate transfer, where you do an IVF transfer of the embryo, but you do it during a time that you're just not going to get pregnant, and that just feels better for some people to like go through that process and have it be more, I guess, natural. So I think different things feel right for different people, but we weren't even thinking about that. We're like, whoa, we hope we get an embryo, and then we had a lot. So
All right. Now I just want to ask if anybody. Oh, were you going to say something?
People about. Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that I would warn other people about the side effects of, like, I guess just the egg harvesting, which I wasn't expecting. Like just feeling bloated afterwards, I wasn't warned about, and that would have been nice to know. And whenever they actually harvested the eggs, it was the weirdest thing. I had what I figured out later was referred pain to basically my anus that no one warned me about, and I had to use a heating pad. And that's like unexpected. You're like, what were they doing, back there in the room to my body? But
that's wild.
They don't really explain everything well, because they're used to like just having so many couples come in. Like every time we're in a waiting room, there's probably 5 to 10 other couples. So they don't always take the time to be like, oh, this is all new to you. I know what Val said before, it's really hard to find sperm donors of color. It's super easy to find white guy sperm out there. But you really should plan ahead and start. Maybe you can reserve vials, like kind of keep them on standby, and take them out of circulation and have the cryobank hang on to them. So if you see it, if you need a donor of color and you see one that you like, you probably want to do that up front and just keep them frozen until you might need them. Like we ended up going with a white guy because it was a stand-in for my eggs. But when we're into IUI, we're like, oh my God, we're gonna have to plan ahead maybe years to get like the sperm donor we want.
Yeah, I liked 1 or 2 guys that I saw that I felt represented me, and one of them, he only had like 1 vial left, and I just didn't feel comfortable getting it, because you definitely want to have backups. So
right.
That thing, like, I wonder what happened to the rest of his vial. So I contacted the person that bought them and said, do you really need all those?
All right. So I want to open it to questions. If anybody watching, we have a couple of watchers, have any questions for Allison and Valjean? No pressure though. Oh, I see a hand raise. Elizabeth.
So I just have a question about, I have friends who they have 2 children from the same sperm donor, and they turned out there's a whole network of half siblings, and I'm just wondering if that's something that you've thought about, what your kiddo's relationship will be with or not with those folks.
So our cryobank, like a lot of other cryobanks, have a sibling registry where you can, it looks like a message board from like 20 years ago. It's not great, but it's a way to connect with the other, what I call diblings, but other people just call siblings or bio siblings. We found 1 other person on there. We just exchange a few messages. I anticipate that we'll have a closer relationship with August's full siblings, where we donated some extra embryos. I think our approach is that we are going to be open with August and hopefully build these bridges and connections so that they can choose whatever they want to do. Like if they can choose that those are important people in their lives, or they can choose not to explore that. So yeah, I think that's our approach.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, signing up for the donor or the sibling registry is completely optional. So, but I felt it was good to at least leave that option open for August as well, and we agreed about that.
And something people need to consider now, whether they're donor or they've donated things or they have a kid like ours where we use a sperm donor, like the age of 23andMe and genetic testing. Like if August does genetic testing, we don't know what we're gonna find. Like we could, you know, we're not planning on making that decision for them, but it could, oh, who knows? And also sperm you can freeze for maybe forever. They could have siblings like pop up 30 years from now, potentially, you know. It's they are regulating a tiny bit, like making it's so that there's only so much distribution of like the same donor, but also like we circumvented that by donating embryos. You know, the crab egg wasn't involved in that.
I think they'll still be reported as
No.
a live birth. No, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, so yeah, we're just trying to make it so they can make the decision as much as possible and create those bridges. I don't know, I'm excited. I'm interested in like the nature versus nurture aspect of it. Like it's interesting. So
Yeah, that sounds fun, honestly.
some people are really against it. They want to like kind of protect their nuclear family and they don't want any contact. So, which I find interesting because I feel the complete opposite. So it's super interesting.
And I guess I feel pressed to say there's like 2 guys in Tennessee with 50 kids between them. So it's not just an IVF thing to maybe have a lot of
it's not a queer family thing. Yeah, heterosexual couples have been managing this a long time before us. So yeah, but I think we will see it more in queer families because most people do have to outsource a third party. So, yeah, it's interesting. You're welcoming people into your life and your kids' life who maybe they'll have like a close relationship with, and we don't know these people. We wouldn't know the sperm donor if we saw them on the street. So it's interesting.
Yeah. All right, any other questions? Oh, Karen has a question.
I suspect you probably talked about this before I got online. So if you answered it, I'm happy to listen to the recording. Okay, so just let me know.
Okay.
But I was wondering, so you both donated eggs?
We didn't use my eggs at all.
Okay, so just Valjean's.
Yeah, we used my, I guess, uterus and body. And
Okay.
we've been calling harvested. I know there's a better word.
They collected my eggs. I don't know.
Yeah,
we use a sperm donor.
Yeah, they collected Valjean's eggs. They got a sperm donor's eggs, and then an embryologist in a lab mixed it all together and got some good day 5 embryos going.
Okay, so you know clearly whose chromosomes went there.
Yep.
Yeah, we were like, as far as our family involvement, I think we talked a bit about my mom not knowing when she was still in our lives. Like just with like families that might not be as accepting, maybe not telling anyone, but
yeah,
we decided against
that. And my family is so in love with our kids. You know, it kind of feels the same to, I think, my family, that like if I adopted a child, that would be a love child that's my child. And you know, and also I made this child's body and birthed them, so you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's cool that you can have so many people involved. I guess technically I was a gestational carrier or a surrogate.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And then I'm sorry, but I'm not sure what reciprocal IVF is.
That just means that I used my partner's eggs instead of my own.
I see.
I guess the reciprocal kind of giving of eggs to somebody who who already has eggs.
Got it.
I guess I reciprocated by, yeah, like having a child. Yeah.
Okay.
I know. Yeah. I guess we didn't dive into like that part of it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I hope that wasn't too intrusive then.
No. Oh my God. Yeah.
Okay.
Valjean talked about his pain after that conversation. We're
Yeah, once we get into anal pain, we're pretty,
yeah. That was troubling for you.
Nothing for me, okay?
No, we're comfortable. And also, like, this is something we could have used before we dived in because we had no idea what we're getting into. And we hadn't seen any trans men go through this and their cis partners. So, yeah, we're happy to share.
Yes, I have no experience with it either. I'm a family doctor and I'm starting to see more of this going on, and that's the reason I'm asking these questions and wanted to hear about it, okay?
Okay. Nice. I'm a medical student. I'm probably going to go into med peds. I'm interested in primary care, so we'll see.
Very good.
Great. Yeah, the more doctors that understand this, the better, right?
Yeah, it's awesome to see other healthcare providers on the education train.
Yeah, we both come across folks that don't understand at all.
And there's
Yeah.
endlessly more to learn too. You
Oh
know?
yeah,
So
Definitely
thank you.
is.
absolutely. So one thing I do want to plug that we have for Connecticut queer parents is this Facebook group called Queer Parents of Connecticut. And so, I mean, you said you had a couple of Facebook groups that you found support in, and that is available for folks who are interested. And I am going to post resources from Allison and Valjean. Did you put those in the chat, or do you want me to? Or
If you could do that, that'd be awesome. Because
okay, yeah,
I think
let me
that's
grab
on my
that.
phone.
But it will also, yeah, it will also be on the description of the video when I post it. Hold on, I'm finding it.
And
Just
just as
spelling your
like
name with only one L.
that's fine. There's a million resources out there. This is just what I stumbled upon and what resonated with me. And Valjean didn't even find that like the online stuff helpful so much. So
I actually have another trans friend who actually just graduated from med school who's thinking of starting a family with his wife, and he's trans like me. So, and they like joined the group on Facebook without me having told them about it. So, I mean, it's definitely a good resource for me.
yeah, the parents of our dibling I saw were on a queer parents group I was in that we never talked about. It's not that big of a community in the end of the day. Like queer couples who are doing reciprocal IVF like this.
Right, yeah.
People will run into each
All
other.
15 of you.
Right. But it does feel cool that we are part of a community that's like paving that path.
Absolutely.
Hopefully people like our kids generation will be like bored like hearing about this stuff and seem obvious to them,
Yeah, I hope so. All right, so I'm sorry.
The embryo donation matching support is where I found our diblings parents. So
Okay.
I know it seems funny to like go to Facebook and find somebody for something that serious, but like it's basically a message board.
Yeah, and I basically had to go through a psychological testing as well with that couples like through their fertility clinic out in Washington State.
So much
and sign a lot of paperwork. So
yeah, Valjean had to do a lot of legwork because he's donating his genetic material.
Right.
And the sperm donor like just
he doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah, he just donated sperm and it's just out there however people want it, I guess. So yeah.
That's funny. So I think it is time to wrap up, but I learned so much, a lot that I wouldn't have learned from the people at the fertility clinic because it is your own personal story. So thank you so much for sharing so openly about your story, conceiving and having your lovely kid, who is beautiful kid. I see them posted on Facebook all the time.
Thank you.
So again, Hartford Gay and Lesbian Health Collective is where I'm from. We have several other of these LGBTQ family building recordings of our previous discussions on our Facebook page and our YouTube page. We would love to hear what other kinds of subjects you all want to hear about. So obviously always feel free to reach out, or if you have any questions about sexual health resources in Connecticut and the Hartford area, you can call us at 860-278-4163, or you can email me at kim.a@hglhc.org. So I will be posting all of these wonderful resources and also looking at them myself that you sent us. And thanks again. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
Kim,
you.
for organizing this.
Absolutely. Have a great night, everybody.
Take good care.
Bye.